Welcome, everyone. I'm Greg Stanley. I'm here with Wes Warren. We're at Whitehall Management. Today, we'd like to talk about evaluating staff or performing staff evaluations, where you take a staff person one-on-one and talk about the pros and cons of their performance. Wes, what have you learned?
Well, so a lot of people hate to do this, and usually it's tied to kind of a yearly review. And doctors hate it for known reason of because it's the time that your team asks for money, they ask for a raise. How am I doing? And they'll literally chase you down. We haven't had my review yet. All of a sudden they care. How am I doing at the end of the year? And probably just like in sports contracts, as their contract is near to expire, they have their best year ever. Same with your team. Probably the last month as the review is coming up, they actually do try, and so doctors hate this, and I get it. I understand why they hate it. And so I've seen most offices quite frankly, don't do yearly performance reviews. And I don't blame them. So if you're in that category where you're not doing yearly reviews, and it's just you're the owner doctor, it's not a huge team, probably don't need to do it. And I would recommend something a little different.
Whatever you do choose to do, whichever way Wes is explaining it that you're going to do it, you must apply it equally, meaning everybody gets the same experience. Every single person, whether you're doing reviews, not doing reviews.
Yeah, right. You get in big trouble if you're showing favoritism to somebody. Yearly review, if you choose to do them, especially when you get larger and you get to 20, 30 employees, and you've got a big team and you got leaders, you probably want to institute this just across the board as far as how the company handles employees. And typically it's done on their hire date, meaning it's not all done in January when and you have to do 1 million reviews in 1 month. No, it's done on your hire date when the person was actually hired. And so it spreads the load out. And so you're only doing maybe 1 a month. If you're a big office, maybe 2 a month, and that's it. I have offices where the doctor gets rushed by employees about a raise. And so in those offices, the instruction is, look, we do a yearly performance review, but we do not do raises during that review. You will not get a raise. I don't care what we talk about. It is not discussed during that review. And so that's another way to break the two apart so that reviews are not tied to, hey, am I doing good? I'm doing good, right? I deserve more money now, right? You can break it apart that way. And that's very helpful. But you absolutely have to let everybody know we're going to do reviews. We're going to do it on your hire date. And we do not talk your raise during that time period. And it's not discussed. Now, what do we talk about during this time? We suggest you kind of do the scenario where we ask the team member, what do you think you're doing good at? And then the team member will say, I'm really doing good here. What do you think you're doing poorly at? Or what do you think you could improve on? And they're usually struggle here a little bit. They don't want to actually reveal what they're struggling with. And then you're to say simply, this is what I think you're good at. This is what I think you're excelling at. And this is what I think you need to improve on. So it's kind of a little bit back and forth between the two of you. And that's how it should be done.
Just a thought. Some people will come to you for a raise. Maybe something's happened in their life. The roof's leaking, the car's broken, whatever. And they come to you looking for a specific amount of money. You have to be prepared in that interview that you're talking about. You have to be prepared to discuss what they would have to accomplish to be worth that. And it's not that far-fetched. It almost involves them developing their talent. For example, You need them to be able to collect money on larger cases, or you need to be able to talk people into the office that call from marketing who aren't covered by your insurance, or they're not in your plan or whatever. Those are skills. One of the things Wes and I teach constantly is scripts and so forth, and people are very hesitant to learn them and use them. So if they come to you with a dollar amount, good, let's put a value on that and feed it back to them. Hey, when you can do this, this, and this, that would be worth that to the practice.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to do your homework certainly also on what the pay scale is out there. And you can do that. There's obviously different companies that provide that, and Indeed, you can just simply go on and look and see what other offices are offering for the position. So you cannot go into these things blind, and nor should you, because if you don't stay up with the pay scales, you will start losing people that you don't want to lose. Even marginal people, kind of B or C plus kind of player, you don't want to be losing a bunch of these people, because replacing people is really difficult. You don't know what you're going to get, and then you have to retrain them also. So you cannot have just a scenario where you're not staying up with the pay scales, and this whole idea that you're going to bury your head in the sand until it kind of goes away. It's not going to happen. The inflation genie is out of the bag, and you're not going to see deflation all of a sudden. You're not going to see the pay go backwards. It's not going to happen. You kind of got to come to grips with that reality and make sure that you don't get behind the times. So definitely do your homework before you talk to anybody about their pay.
One of the things that's going to happen, they're going to come to you, like Wes was talking, and they're going to say, am I doing good? And of course, if you want to be real positive, you want to be supportive, I know you do. But when you say yes to that question, you're actually saying yes to, can I have a raise? It's the same thing. Wes talked about, don't get caught into that once a year, okay, time for reviews. They turn it into a raise pitch. It's kind of a setup. You're on the train tracks leading to a raise. We don't really mind staff getting more money. We can raise our fees at times. We can do bigger cases. There's a lot of ways we can come back. But what we don't want to see is bad performance stay in place. People sitting there twittering away big cases, big collections, insurance stuff turned in late, or they're just missing stuff. So let's get performance for whatever, and if that'll do it, let's do it.
Here's what I would suggest, and kind of getting away from the yearly review, is I would do a performance check-in every 90 days. And so I certainly wouldn't, I divide it up so that you're not doing everybody in 1 month, so that it's you divided your team into thirds, obviously. But where you're doing a performance check-in every 90 days. And you do just what I told you. So you're going to just say, what do you think you're doing well at? What are you struggling with? Here's what I think you're doing well at. Here's what I think you're struggling with, and what you can improve on. And where this is done consistently over the year, and that you don't wait until the end of the year. And people that are really struggling are really not up to task, really falling behind, and you're kind of wishing that you could try to find somebody else. They're kind of on the fence. And letting those people know that, hey, I actually want to check in with you more often. And you can do it weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, where people that need a little bit more guidance and oversight, where you're speaking with them more often. And these meetings should not be very long. This is not about having 30 or 45-minute discussions with people. These check-ins, these frequent ones, should be 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, that's it.
This is a time when you can insert that verbiage, a condition of employment. That's your signal to them that whatever they're struggling with, or whatever their offense is, it's something you don't go forward with in this practice. You either fix it, or we bring in somebody else and you're let go.
people that are on the fence, you kind of owe them that, and you should let them know, we're going to check in more often. We're going to talk every week. And I've been shocked at how effective this is. People that, we've been doing this a long time, Greg longer than me, and people that, the team's complaining about, doctors complaining about, and we're kind of like, okay, this person's going to have to be fired. They're just not up to the standard. And we're ready to start running ads looking for their replacement. When we started doing this, I've been shocked at how many people have actually changed. But the key is consistency with communication, and doing these check-ins weekly with somebody who's really at that kind of level. And it doesn't have to be you, the owner doctor. It can be the leader of the practice, but somebody has to really be clear about where this person is falling down. It can be attitude, it can be, ownership, accountability, but this conversation needs to be happening consistently week by week for these people that are underperforming.
One of the things that will help in this process is to understand this isn't just about correcting bad behavior. It can be. It definitely works that way. Like Wes said, we were surprised how effective it was. However, there's situations people are in at work that they just need to express themselves. It's probably something that isn't going to change. It might even be your own behavior that they're rankled by. But if they can express themselves and you listen sympathetically, empathetically, they can carry on. They're good. So it's kind of your chance to clear them out of carrying some burdens.
I'll tell you that this is very effective. A lot of our team members, leaders that end up having to do this, and doctors, are somewhat non-assertive. Nobody really enjoys delivering bad news to somebody. And we get this a lot where, I got this team member and she's doing this, and I really don't know what to say to her. I don't know how to bring it up. And maybe I did once or twice, but this is how you do it. You ask them what they're doing well at, what they're struggling with, and then you tell them what you think they're doing well at and what you think they could improve on. This seems to be magic for people that struggle with this kind of encounter. So absolutely start doing it. And people that you need to raise up their level of performance from kind of a C level, start doing this more often, and you'll see everything change for you. And I definitely would get away from yearly reviews and do reviews much kind of a 90-day cycle. And for those that are struggling, do it weekly or bi-weekly.
One thing too, you might want to keep your eye on is setting the precedent that because somebody needs the money, for example, the car breaks down or whatever happens in their personal life, if it's a call to more money at work, once you've done that for one, based on their personal at-home need, how do you not say yes to everyone that comes to your door in the office? Somebody else, the roof's leaking, somebody else needs a new something. So tie it to performance to the degree you possibly can. What would it be worth to me paying them that money? What would they have to do in return? They would have to get better at something.
And everybody overestimates what they bring to the table, and this is kind of the problem is you give somebody a raise, and then when somebody else hears about it, they go, well, I'm twice as good as she is, even though that might not be true. That's just how they see it. And so having lines of communication where you're constantly talking about their weaknesses, where it's constantly, I don't want to say in their face, but it's certainly in the open, where they're not under the delusion that everything's going great, because that's how it is in most offices. They walk around and nobody really says that they're doing bad. Nobody says that they're doing great. And by the end of the year, they are under this illusion that they're doing outstanding. So you definitely want to start this if you're not doing it.
Okay. All right. I think we've covered that. Wes, thank you. Thanks for listening, everyone.